Hi guys, so we are recently back from Newfoundland, Canada, and I could tell you this is not going to be a travel video. My name is Niladri Mukherjee and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I practice in Mississauga, Ontario. So we are recently back from Newfoundland, Canada, and I thought to share my experience with you from immigration perspective because being an immigration consultant, whichever new province or place that I visit, I always try to think how good or bad this place is from a new immigrant's perspective. So here are some of the positives and negatives from my little experience of traveling there for about 2 weeks. I thought to share with you. The number one positive that I could think of is the people, because the place is just made of its people, and how good or bad the people are really makes a lot of difference. And I could tell you is that I have traveled almost all the provinces of Canada, and the people in Newfoundland are the friendliest of all. People in Canada in general are quite kind, quite helpful in nature, but the folks in Newfoundland takes it to a whole new different level. You will have to try absolutely very hard to meet a rude people. In the 2 weeks of our stay there, we have met some exceptional people there who are extremely helpful and kind. So if you are planning to settle in Newfoundland, anywhere in Newfoundland, I could guarantee you that your experience with respect of interaction, with the kind of help that you receive from the community, will be extraordinary. So that's, to me, it's the most important thing. Second positive, if I could think of, is the cost of owning a house or the renting. So if you are going there as a first timer, if you're renting a property, the rent is quite cheap. I'm not really comparing it with where I live in southern Ontario, which is quite expensive, but even in the east, if you compare the rent in Newfoundland with respect to maybe Nova Scotia or maybe New Brunswick, it is quite cheap. So you will not pay a lot of money in renting, and if you're planning to own a house, the cost of buying a house is literally 50% of that of Ontario. If you compare it with British Columbia, if a flat costs you $1 million in British Columbia, it is going to cost you maybe $300,000 or $200,000 in St. John's, Newfoundland, because I've checked those prices of the open houses, and the cost of either owning a property or renting is substantially cheaper. The third positive that I could think of is for the international students. The cost of education, the tuition fees that you are going to potentially pay is very, very low. If you compare a university fee of British Columbia or Ontario with that of Memorial University, you will find that the prices, the tuition fees in Newfoundland are way cheaper, like substantially cheaper as compared to anywhere else that you end up paying here in Canada. The cost of education overall, and since the cost of owning a house or renting is not that expensive as well, the overall cost of international education in Newfoundland comes down quite substantially if you compare it with practically any other provinces of Canada. So those are the three positives. Now, what are the negatives? The major negative that I could think of is the lack of job opportunity. If you compare the job opportunities available in St. John's, Newfoundland, which is one of the largest, if not the largest city in Newfoundland, it is not really very high except for those very specific sectors. Now, if you're in IT, you will still get a job. If you're in some kind of fishing and all those kind of professions, you will be easily be able to get a job. If you're into healthcare, after due licensing, you will certainly get a job. For teaching professions, for sure, but for a lot of other professions, you will not find it as competitive market, right, as compared to any other part of Canada. So lack of job opportunity for sure is one of the disadvantage, or lack of job opportunities, if you will, is definitely a disadvantage that I could think of. The second is the weather. Now, Newfoundland is situated in the Atlantic coast of Canada. One side is the Labrador Sea, the other side is the Atlantic Ocean, North Atlantic Ocean, and hence you are being constantly. It's a cold province, in simple words, and even in the month of June and July, it is not going to be as warm as you could otherwise expect in Ontario. So if you cannot really tolerate cold, that is not really the place for you. Though obviously the place is being prepared in terms of infrastructure to tackle the cold, and personally, cold is not really a big factor for me, but to a lot of people are. So if you are afraid of cold, that's really not the place you're looking at. So because the province is generally cold. Third disadvantage that I have seen personally is the cost of living. Now, understand something, that Newfoundland is an island. So everything that is going there is being exported from maybe the other provinces of Canada, right? And the cost of export is high because there is a ferry involved, because there's an island, or a plane involved. Again, because of the where this province is situated, which is why the cost of living, the prices are quite high. For example, the prices of gas are quite high as compared to Ontario. The prices of almost anything. If you talk about chips, if you talk about like a cold drink, if you talk about alcohol, everything is quite expensive, like reasonable, like relatively more expensive as compared to at least what we pay in Ontario. So regardless of how much money you earn, you end up spending a lot. So cost of living is generally one of the drawbacks. But then again, if you're making good amount of money, that's really a very little negatives to consider. But that's something that I thought to talk about. So overall, it's an amazing province. It's a place that is being blessed with enormous amount of natural beauty, the great North Atlantic Ocean, the views, the lighthouses, the food, and most importantly, the people around are just amazing. It's a province that I would personally be looking forward to visit one more time for sure. Why not? But if you are a newcomer, if you are planning to study in Newfoundland, if you are planning to settle there, if you are getting an invite from the the Newfoundland Provincial Nominee Program, or being planning to start a business there through their entrepreneurship program, this is really an amazing place to be. If you need my help, my professional services with the process of your immigration, feel free to book a consultation. Send me an email, contact@nuvonation.ca. Shall be glad to connect. Thank you guys. Bye now.